Hey, what's going on, everybody? Wanted to jump on real quick and share a thought about revision, which really took me back to just rewriting the story or the narrative of our lives. A couple of weeks ago, I went down the Neville rabbit hole and I just consumed Neville content and let Neville interpret Neville, as opposed to listening to other people's interpretations or misinterpretations of Neville. I just read the work for what it was, and in that I came across revision, and I had heard about revision before, but I never really dived into it for real. I guess it just wasn't on my radar before, but this time it stood out like a sore thumb, and it just made so much sense, and it just really sent me on a rabbit hole, and it just had me thinking. When you think about the law of attraction or manifestation community, a lot of all we hear is the propagation of techniques, like whether it be affirmations, visualization, meditation, scripting, feel as if, act as if, living in, all these things that we compartmentalize, which is nothing wrong with them within themselves, but within themselves they are incomplete, and they are just techniques to get us all to the state where we need to be in order to create the reality that we want to create. And so it's more so a thing of preference and what works for you. There's no one size fit all per se. Even if the law of attraction and the laws of the universe are global and universal, it's still not a one size fit all. What works for one won't work for the other, and vice versa. So you have to find what works for you. But ultimately, it's not about the techniques at all. It's about getting to the state and what they produce. And so with that, I used to think of myself as a visual person, and which I kind of still am, but more so I'm a writer, and so journaling and scripting and writing, anything that has to do with that really gets my juices going. And it really helps me to recruit all of the senses and sensations, as opposed to me trying to manufacture something that I see or feel or think. When I write, it converges and combines them all, and it's effortless and it lists. And me being able to feel the state or to see it is a natural byproduct of me writing. And in that, when you think about it, there's just the term scripting. Scripts are something that's in a movie or shows, television production, whatever. And Neville talked about the four mighty ones, and I'm not saying that he originated the concept overall, but he said pretty much that we are the producer, the writer, the director, and the actor. And we, of course, we know this physical avatar, we're the actors on the screen of physical life, but not what we don't always realize, because it doesn't always seem that way, is that we are also the producer, the writer, and the director behind the scenes that write the script and that direct this avatar on what part to play. And so with that, when you think about scripting, and if we are experiencing things on this plane of life that we don't want to experience, we can go back as the writer and the producer, and we can scratch that out, and we can write in what it is that we want to experience for this avatar to carry out on this plane of life. And so it's just like revision, where he's pretty much saying that in order to change circumstances on this plane of life, we have to go back to the past and revise it with new content. And when we do that from the past tense in this present moment, we will experience the results not only in the future, but also in this present moment. But it stemmed back from going back to an imaginal act in our imagination and revising it with new content. So whether that be visual content, whether we physically write it in the scene like a script, whatever works for you and is more effective. Essentially, it's all the same. We have to go back to the past, which is at the root of what we're experiencing now, and we have to change that. And then once we change it, we will be able to experience it in this present moment. And so when you think about just writing or scripting, if you think about our life, the Bible talks about a book of life. If we have which we do, and it's within us, we have a book of life from the beginning of our life to the end of our life, and it's not exactly sovereign as far as it will carry itself out by itself. If that was the case, then nobody would ever die prematurely or miss their destiny, or we wouldn't really have to do anything, and our destiny will fulfill itself. But there is a co-creation or a operation, which is a part that we play. And so with that, think about it as a book. And if you think about a book has chapters, and within those chapters are contained are paragraphs. But then paragraphs are made up of sentences, and those sentences are of words. So when you think about revising the script of your life with new content, that means the overall direction of our life up to this point is the whole of the book. And every chapter may be a different compartment of our life, whether it be finances, whether it be health, whether it be family, whether it be our spouse, whether it be whatever. Every chapter is a different chapter, and within those chapters they have paragraphs. So when we want to revise with new content, it will be overwhelming to try to tackle it all at once, head on, and to write the whole book all the way over from the beginning to the end. It'll be very overwhelming. And so you want to tackle one thing at a time. And even in narrowing it down and trying to tackle one thing at a time, you still want to implement it little by little. So you may not want to change the whole chapter of your finances or whatever it is, whatever aspect of your life that you want to change, but you can start with a sentence. And essentially that's what we're doing when we affirm and when we visualize and when we script. What we're doing is we are starting with one word or one sentence, and then eventually we stay faithful to that, and that one sentence turns into two turns into three turns into four. Now you got a whole paragraph. Now you got one paragraph, and then you take that one paragraph and you continue to multiply it until you look up, you've rewritten that whole chapter, and then you look up and that aspect or sector of your life has changed. And then you just wash, rinse, and repeat with every aspect of your life, but you take it and you compartmentalize it one step at a time. And I know that sounds extremely simple, and it is simple in theory, not always easy in application, but we have to start somewhere, and we cannot let the fear, or we can't get overwhelmed before the journey even starts. And I think a lot of times that's what happens. Like I said, if you're thinking about the theme of your life in just one aspect, you have a whole chapter. And so if you are rewriting the theme of that, the one word or the one sentence that you insert is going against the grain or the thread of the whole theme of the chapter. So that's where we get resistance from. For instance, if all you've known is scarcity, struggle, lack, and poverty, and you want to start changing your paradigm for abundance, that's one sentence within the whole context of the chapter. So it's not consistent with how things have been. So you are going to struggle initially because you're going against the grain. But the more you become faithful to that one sentence and continue to revise it and continue to feel it as natural, eventually that one sentence will turn into two. And like I said before, you look up and it will continue to multiply itself. And then you look up and you've rewritten the whole chapter of your life and finances. It will be abundance. And then it will be first or second nature. But we have to start with the one sentence. Neville said that the mind of man is the mouth of God. The Bible says that the tongue is the pen of a ready writer, which lets us know that in order to change our lives, the ball is in our court. He said that the tongue is the pen. And so whether that is verbal words, some people are more stronger and they prefer verbal affirmations or confessions or declarations, and that's fine. They don't necessarily work for me because it just feels like it just doesn't work for me. But I know that is some people's strong point, and that's fine. Like I said, scripting works for me, so it doesn't have to be verbal words. But ultimately, it is all words, whether it's verbal, whether it's thought, whether it's visual. It's all data or code that we are rewriting the script of our lives to revise it with new content. And so I just want to drop that to encourage us to remain faithful and to keep everything into context. And a lot of times I know that the urgency of situations drives us to want miracles and want answers like yesteryear because of the urgency of the situation, or you just being tired. And that is justifiable and it's admirable. But in reality, however long we've been on the face of this earth, these programs have been running on autopilot for that long. So for years, for months, weeks, decades, however long you've been here. So you didn't arrive at this stage of your life overnight. And though all things are possible, it's not likely that they will change overnight as well. And so don't let that discourage you. Don't look at the whole book thinking that you have to rewrite the whole book in one night. Like I said, start with a word. Let those words multiply till it turns into a whole sentence. Let that sentence turn to a few sentences. Then you look up, you got a whole paragraph, and continue to be faithful. Continue to revise, continue to rewrite the content of your life until it is to your liking. Peace.